to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com post-game wrap-up show here on this Sunday, October the 20th. I'm your host, Mike Oliva, joined as I am each and every week with Tom Ernest after another Miami Dolphins loss this season to put them at 2-4 in the season, a 16-10 loss to the Indianapolis Colts. Tom, aside from that, how are you doing?
It's been a banner day in this household. Oh boy, it's one thing after another. The Dolphins' loss was the icing on the cake, so to speak, today. But it's other than that, Mike, I'm fine. We are actually
no bolognese sauce today.
No bolognese. I wasn't in the mood to cook. I wasn't in the mood to cook. But you know what? There is a silver lining to the end of this game is that we get to go enjoy some sunshine at the end of the week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later in the show. Myself and Tom will be in South Florida later this upcoming week for next week's game. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But before we get to anything with this game, a quick word from our sponsor.
The DolphinsTalk.com podcast network is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a birthday gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive, Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home, and they'll ship it to you. International fans, too. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com.
That's right, and we will be at Caneswear.com next week as well once we hit South Florida. Okay, this game was not good, to put it nicely. Before we get to our thoughts on the game, just some injury news, guys who were not active, all that stuff. Javon Holland, hand was broken. He was inactive. There was some thought he might play through it with a wrap or a club, but from all the reports, his hand was swollen. And, you know, his contract's up at the end of the year. He's not going to go above and beyond, nor should he, and put bad tape of himself out there because he knows he will be on the open market next year for life-changing money. So Javon Holland, he did not play. Emmanuel Ogbah has a bicep injury. He did not play. Jeff Wilson was inactive, not really needed because since week one, this was the first game where Raheem Mostert, Jaylen Wright, and Achane were all active. So Jeff Wilson was inactive. And also, this dropped on Saturday quietly. Blake Ferguson was placed on the reserve non-football illness list. He's going to be out a month. So even the long snapper in Miami is not here. Now, I have no idea what's going on with Blake Ferguson. Doesn't seem like an injury. So whatever. He's gone for a month and is what it is. In the game, Achane, he had the concussion versus the Patriots. He returned to the field and wore a Guardian cap, which, look, I know it looks weird, but smart. And I would be shocked if Tua, when he returns next week, is not wearing one either. And if he's not wearing one, then this whole organization is a bigger clown show than I even thought they are. So he should be wearing one next week. Tyler Huntley left the game with a right shoulder injury. Didn't look good. No further word. Storm Duck left the game with an ankle injury. No further word. And wide receiver, a position on the team where Miami is not very deep. Braxton Berrios suffered a significant injury. It's feared he will have an MRI, and it doesn't sound good yet. we'll see once we get the results of the MRI. So that's who's active, who's not active. Injury. Tom, I'm sure you got a lot to say. Get it all off your chest. You'll feel better because then I got a lot to say as well. So I'll let you have the floor.
It seems like each and every week in 2024, Mike, we're having therapy sessions on the post-game wrap-up show instead of talking about, good football games, Dolphins victories, everything that we thought this team was on paper, we were fooled. This team, offensively, specifically, I can't even blame the offensive line today. I can't. Run game was there. The biggest question mark that I watched is what the hell was the game plan for Jaylen, Waddle, and Tyreek Hill? They amounted, I don't even have the exact number. Let me see. Target-wise, Waddle was targeted twice. Tyreek Hill targeted twice. That is $57 million in wide receiver money that achieved 4 total targets. Now, again, I liked, that McDaniel stuck to the ground game. It made sense. There were moments, again, where he got away with what was working. Why the hell is Alec Ingold handling a first down from the 13-yard line on a fullback dive? Why are you running a fullback dive from the 13-yard line after Jaylen Wright busted off 2 runs? One, I believe, was about 9 or 10 yards, and the other one was like a 23, 24-yard burst. Why are we handing it to Alec Ingold? Let Alec Ingold do what Alec Ingold does best, block. Instead, you handed him the football. The ball gets ripped from his arms with, by the way, the Dolphins at that point driving to take the lead late in the third quarter. That's done. Your 31-year-old running back, who's supposed to be your lead back, fumbles the football while the team is still up 10-3. They shoot themselves in the foot. Now, there are 2 games, the Bills and the Seahawks, the Dolphins had no chance. None. They shot themselves in the foot repeatedly against the Titans. They were able to get away with it against the Patriots. And then today, when, let me see, the quarterback of the Colts, Anthony Richardson, had a 59.2 rating and completed less than 50% of his passes. They still found a way to lose this game. They handed the Colts this game. Jason Sanders can't hit a field goal to tie the game from 54 yards out. Your 4th quarterback this season hurts his shoulder. He was ruled out, which means most likely he'll be on IR and that his season's done. And it honestly sours the potential excitement for the return of the quarterback of the football team, Tua Tagovailoa, next week. He's not rescuing the football team. The team will win maybe a few more games with him at helm. But it's poor coaching. It is lack of execution. This is, out of the 4 losses, this is probably the 3rd time I've seen Waddle, Hill, and Mike McDaniel getting a nice chuckle on the sideline while they were losing a game. And to put the icing on the cake for how bad this display was today, on 4th and 2, the quarterback, your backup quarterback for this game, Tim Boyle, who shouldn't be on an NFL roster, he shouldn't even be on a CFL roster, throws the football adequately out of bounds towards the Colts cheerleaders on 4th and 2 with the game on the line. He had no idea it was 4th down. Ladies and gentlemen, your Dolphins coaching staff in 2024 wrapped up nicely on a 4th and 2 play against the stinking Indianapolis Colts, who are not a good football team, ladies and gentlemen. They are Not good. But guess what? Neither are the Miami Dolphins. And they just put the nail in the coffin on the season. If they could have got to 3-3, the season technically would be still alive going into the return of Tua. Now sitting at 2-4, one more loss. We're cooked, folks. It's over.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't know where else to go from here.
No, I mean, here are my thoughts. At 2-4, the season's over. They're not going to the playoffs. This team's not good enough to win. Tua coming back means nothing. Not that I expect him to play well, because he wasn't playing well prior to the injuries, prior to his injury. And the offensive game plans and the play calling this year from our coaching staff and head coach Mike McDaniel stinks. There is zero accountability at all from the top down with the Miami Dolphins organization, starting with the ownership. That's why you see the same mistakes week after week after week with the same players making the same mistakes. There was an interesting interaction earlier this week. I think I might have mentioned it on one show. Our special teams coordinator, Danny Crossman, was asked by the local media after the Patriots game. He was asked this week, and they asked him, with the Patriots game, you obviously had the block punt, you had a missed field goal, you had the snap bat on the. There's so many mistakes on special teams. They asked him if his tone changed when talking to that unit. He said no. And they go, at halftime of the game, what did you do? How did you address? Because all the mistakes happened in the first half. He goes, I don't like to remind players of their mistakes. And that's why you've won. And that's why this organization's gone 24 years without winning a playoff game. No accountability, poor culture. That sums up the Miami Dolphins loser culture right there. Mr. Crossman said the quiet part out loud. This Miami Dolphins organization is not serious. There's a reason a lot of players want to come to Miami, because it's a nice place to live. You get paid lots of money. You don't have to work hard, and you won't be held accountable. And I know it's easy to blame the ownership. I get it. And Mr. Ross, since he has owned this team, it has been a disaster. But this coaching staff, starting with Mike McDaniel, stinks. If I were Stephen Ross, I would ask Mike McDaniel, who he just extended, which I'm sure eats at him every day. I pay all this money to Tyreek Hill. I pay all this money to Jaylen Waddle. Why aren't you using him? I would love to hear an answer from Mike McDaniel. Not a word-salad answer. I'd be like, you give me a one-sentence answer in about 60 seconds. I ain't sitting here all day for you just to throw out a bunch of words. And then I'd ask him, we traded a third-round pick in 2025 to move – we traded a third-round pick next year to move up into round 4 this year to take Jaylen Wright. Why are we running Alec Ingold on key red zone plays and key third and one plays? Again, 1 minute, answer succinctly and tell me a reasonable answer. I said it all last year, and fans got all over me. Mike McDaniel was the weak link on this Dolphins team at 8-3, at 9-3. I go, this guy, they're winning, but only because they have so much overwhelming talent last year that they are just, his mistakes go hidden. Now you remove Wilkins. Now you remove Hunt, Howard, Baker, Andrew Van Ginkel. Take away a lot of the talent, and Mike McDaniel has been exposed as a fraud of a head coach. He isn't any good. He isn't improving. In fact, it gets worse week by week. Every other team in this league, it seems like, wins with a backup quarterback. We were lucky to beat the Patriots with one. Lucky. And they're the worst team in the league. And a prime example of why you need a competent head coach happened right before halftime today versus the Colts. Miami's driving with under a minute to go near the red zone. On second down, they run Mostert. He gets like 6-7 yards. Great. Okay, you're running the ball, settling for a field goal. I don't agree with it, but okay, that's what he wants to do. But no, Mike calls timeout. Why are you calling timeout? If you're going to settle for a field goal and not try to pass in the end zone with the clock running, just let the clock run down and kick your stinking field goal. No, calls timeout, stops the clock. Then, after the timeout, he's going to have Tyler Huntley try to hit Odell Beckham. Wasn't caught a pass all season. Incomplete. You stop the clock again. Then you kick your field goal, but now you've left Indy with a ton of time on the clock to just march down the field and get a field goal. When you're without your backup, when you're without your starting quarterback, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, and all these players, your head coach has to actually navigate the team to a win when everything's not perfect. You can't make that kind of mistake. You're either trying to score a touchdown, which means you're not running the ball on second down, or you just run the ball and don't call timeout. It's like he's trying to be half pregnant. It doesn't work. This is football 101. It's year 3. He's got to know this stuff. He can't be loosey-goosey with timeouts. He can't be handing the other team back. I don't care how bad their offense has been playing till then. You don't just hand them the ball back with time left on the clock. When you control the clock, you had all the power. And everyone, stop making excuses for the defense. I know it's not the biggest problem with this team, but let's stop with – I see Dolphins fans all over social media saying the defense is on the field all the time. They're gassed. You can't blame them. Bullshit. Miami versus the Patriots had a 9-minute advantage in time of possession. The Patriots still ran the ball for 7.9 yards. The defense was never on the field. Today versus Indy, Miami won time of possession by 3 to 4 minutes. The Dolphins defense can't tackle. Patriots 7.9 yards per carry. Colts 5.4 yards per carry. They can't tackle anybody. The fundamentals are poor. Don't make excuses for this team. Don't make excuses for the players. And don't make excuses to the people who put this team together. This organization has let down this fan base for 2+ decades. Decades. And fans want to make excuses for it. Don't make excuses for the defense. They can't tackle anybody. They have no fundamentals. They stink. They're just not as bad as the offense. So people want to cut someone some slack. Don't cut anyone some slack. And if you're a fan of this organization who at 2-4 still have hope that an injury-prone, concussion-prone quarterback who played poorly in the only 2 games we saw him this year is going to come back and be a savior, I want you to pause for a second and say that out loud 2 or 3 times. Because if that was any other team except your favorite team, you would think that fan base is delusional because this team ain't turned around from Tua. Miami is 2-4. You can now focus on which players you can trade, which players you might want to hold on to. You can get guys like Chop Robinson, Muhammad Kamara, Patrick Paul, Jaylen Wright, Malik Washington, all the snaps and reps you can get them as much experience this year because this year's shot. And now as fans on our side, pay attention to the college games on Saturday because we are in the market for a quarterback. We're in the market for offensive linemen, and it's now draft season for Dolphins fan. This year's over. Don't make excuses for these people. They stink, and Tua's not coming back to save the day. And if you think that, you really don't understand NFL football in the year 2024.
Yeah, the glimmer of hope is gone with the loss today, Mike. It's
over.
It's
the
done.
Team stinks in every
It's
aspect. Offense stinks, special teams stinks, the defense stinks, and the coaching is worse than all of them together.
Yeah, it's the little details like you mentioned too. As much as from a pass defense perspective, I thought they were great today. They still couldn't stop a lick on the
non-competitive quarterback.
When Chop Robinson has Trey Sermon in the backfield for a 3-yard loss, and Trey Sermon ends up getting an 11-yard run, and Chop Robinson was the guy that tackled him after the fact, tells you everything you need to know about where the fundamentals of if football 101 is not a thing in Miami at this point. I'm not wishing going back in time or anything like that, but find the TNT wall and put that damn thing back up at the practice field. Have accountability for how things happen in a football game. You think you could practice great all week, but even now the practices go back a couple weeks ago. The team was begging for padded practices because they weren't getting
tell the coach they wanted it.
They had to tell the coaches, Mike McDaniel, they had to say, we need some freaking padded practices, coach. We need to toughen this shit up this year. Granted, it didn't do anything for him in the moment. But at some point, who the leader of the locker room is needs to stand up and start holding these guys accountable on the football field. Who that is, nobody knows at this point. I don't even know if there is a vocal leader in the locker room. It's
probably Ramsey or Campbell, but here's the problem. The team's just not any good. I mean, look, you can give all the tough guy talks you want. The team's not any good. And when you got your special teams coordinator going up there, but I don't like to remind players of the mistakes they make in the game. And what are we doing? This ain't T-ball. Let's give them all a participation trophy. Take them out for ice cream after the game. What are we doing? This is the NFL. These are millionaires. You can't remind them of mistakes. And that's why you get the same mistakes week after week. Julian Hill, more mistakes. Nobody wants to remind anybody of mistakes. God forbid we hurt someone's feelings here. I mean, what are we doing? This is the NFL. You think Andy Reid does that in Kansas City? You think Bill, when he was with the Patriots, love him or hate him, you think he did that with them?
He called Tom Brady out
did that here?
every mistake Tom Brady had in the New England Patriots locker room.
That's how you get better.
He called him out. I mean,
that's how you get better.
Yes,
you can't just ignore. I don't want to remind him of mistakes. What are we doing? This is the NFL.
You can have the greatest football player of all time in your locker room. When the head coach points at him and says, "What you did there, that sucked. You better get better." Everybody listens. Everybody listens, which is why the Patriots were a dynasty for 20 years. The Dolphins are nowhere near that level. They don't have the disciplinary. They don't have any discipline on that football team because they don't hold people accountable. And the one guy that they need to hold accountable outside of Mike McDaniel is Danny Crossman. He says, I don't want to hurt the guy's feelings and what they did wrong in the first half. Why? Why don't you want to tell them what they did wrong so maybe they can correct their mistakes? No, let's just keep making those mistakes, which is why Julian Hill has 7 penalties against him. Durham Smythe had a holding call, which I thought was kind of bullshit, but
still,
it's still the same thing over and over again. How many times this year do we see a big play happen on offense that's called back for an illegal shift, a holding penalty, offsides? I mean, offensive offsides. Are you kidding me? You don't know where the line of scrimmage is?
Here's somebody in our chat who asked a very valid question here. AZ Fanatic. How is Julian Hill on this team? AZ, it's actually worse. They promoted him to starter. Smythe, if you look at the snaps every Monday, who plays the most snap? Hill's on the field he's the starter. He plays almost every snap. Jonnu Smith is only out there for passing downs. Fine, whatever. And Smythe is barely on the field anymore. He's been supplanted by. So not only is Hill failing, they promoted him, just like they did with Liam Eichenberg, just like they did with Robert Jones. You fail in Miami, you get promoted. If you're likable and you're here long enough, I'll just promote him.
No accountability.
So they're never going to get rid of him. If you got this notion, you're going to forget that. Let's just start with he's not the starter anymore, but good luck with that.
Yeah. And we got more to talk about. But
we got more to talk about. Right now. Let's get through this game, as ugly as it was. It probably won't take long. But we got more, because I hear people asking about McDaniel and Grier. Trust me, folks, we're going to get to that.
All right. So for the game, the Dolphins won the toss. They deferred to the second half. The Colts come out and they go 3-and-out on the opening drive, giving the Dolphins an opportunity. But they go 3-and-out. Then the Colts once again go 3-and-out on 3 straight incompletions from Anthony Richardson. And the Dolphins get an 11-play, 58-yard drive that is capped off by a touchdown pass to Jonnu Smith for 10 yards. On this specific drive where they did score, Achane for 5, and then for 2, and then on 3rd and 3, a defensive offside gives the Dolphins a first down to the Colts 46-yard line. Achane for 3, Achane for 6. Tyler Huntley with a run for 2 yards. Mostert picks up 4. You get the common theme here, right? Run. And it was working. Tyler Huntley then hit Jonnu Smith over the middle for 18 yards to get to the 13. An 11-yard run by Mostert. After a Dolphins timeout, Tyler Huntley gets sacked on 2nd and goal for a loss of 8, and on 3rd and goal finds Jonnu Smith for the touchdown. And the Dolphins get a touchdown in the first quarter, which, again, if we do a complete 180 and start talking about this last year, we're going to be pulling our hair out. But we're celebrating that, Mike. The Dolphins get a touchdown in the first quarter to take the lead.
Yeah. Jonnu Smith, I don't want to say he's the lone bright spot here, but I will say how they sort of used it. Yeah, how they're using him is actually quite wise. Now he's only been used with Huntley, Skyler, Tim Boyle. Let's see if he's actually used when Tua comes back, or if he goes back to force feeding Hill and Waddle and all that stuff, which might happen. I hope they continue to use him when Tua returns, because, again, he's actually making plays out there while some other guys aren't.
Yes, for sure. The Colts get their possession. They go 11 plays, 72 yards, took 5:38 off the clock. Started at their 17-yard line. They get 19 yards on first down on a run. from Tyrell Goodson. Then he gets 9 yards on his very next run. After a no gain in 3rd and 1, Sherman gets a first down for 4 yards to the 49. Tyson Bowser was offside, giving it to the Dolphins 46-yard line. Anthony Richardson goes for 3, then hit Adonai Mitchell for 14 to the 29-yard line. And then after an incomplete, a second, Richardson goes deep to Alec Pierce to the 1-yard line for 28 yards. Penalty on the Colts for an illegal formation, but it was an offsetting penalty because of defensive pass interference by Kendall Fuller. So they replayed the down.
It was a horrible call.
It was
a horrible call.
Yeah. And 2nd and 10, incomplete. 3rd and 10, Richardson goes for 22 yards and a first down. From 1st and goal from the 7, a loss of 1. Calais Campbell with a very nice tackle on that 1st and goal play. And on 2nd and goal, Anthony Richardson, a bad snap. The Dolphins recover. Zach Sealer always finds a way to make plays, Mike, and the Dolphins get a break and stop a potential scoring drive for the Colts.
Yeah, they made a nice little play there to cause turnovers. Look, here's the one thing. Anthony Richardson sucks. I mean, for as high as he was picked in this draft, in his draft last year, he is not very good. Now, I also know he hasn't even started 10 games yet, so I guess you want to cut him some slack, but Jacoby Brissett was bad. He's an old guy. This kid just looks like no accuracy, just no pocket presence. He can run, and he's tough to tackle. But if the Colts, if they actually played Joe Flacco today, they would have won this game by 3 touchdowns, and it wouldn't even have been competitive.
Yep. So thankfully they made that decision. After multiple punts, the Dolphins get a 9-play, 65-yard drive to end what we thought was going to be the end of the first half with 22 seconds left. Jason Sanders knocked in a 33-yard field goal after an incomplete pass on 3rd and 4 from the Colts 15-yard line. Another very strong drive that chewed up some clock, but not enough, because after the field goal, it only took 4 plays from the 30-yard line to get into field goal range. It was a Michael Pittman reception who was wide open in the middle of the football field. It's like I was watching Vic Fangio's prevent defense against the Titans all over again. So a 33-yard gain, they pick up an extra 3 yards, and then after the timeout, Matt Gay made a 52-yard field goal, and that was the game-changing moment, Mike. All the momentum started to shift. But going to halftime, Dolphins were up 10-3.
Yeah, they should have been up by a lot more because they dominated every category in the first half. And the fact it was a 1-score game let you know they didn't take advantage of it. But we're at halftime, so quick shout-out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, the largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a big shout-out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. Also, wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Podbean, Podchaser, or YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Smash that subscribe button right now. Also, smash the like button if you're watching on YouTube. And if you want more Dolphins Talk content, or even some non-Miami Dolphins content, whether general NFL content, I'll probably do some World Series shows. We'll talk some reality TV. Sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra. Patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Patreon.com/DolphinsTalk.
We have a lot of fun in there, actually, because we don't have to talk about the Dolphins all the time.
Don't talk. Yeah, exactly. If you're thinking it's just more stuff all about the Dolphins, it's really not.
No,
if
we got
the
a
team's
lot.
good, it will be. If the team's
stuff.
good, it will be. But when it's not, myself and Aaron are talking about doing a reality TV show. We're going to do some other stuff, probably for the World Series. Now that the Yankees are back in it and all is right with the world, I'll probably do some World Series shows. So we'll do. Do you know that 2 of the guys in the Yankees pen they got from your miserable White Sox team?
Of course.
Miserable White Sox
team. Hey, look, I'm a Dolphins fan. You don't have to bring up the White Sox part, Mike. Listen, I'm already a suffering fan. I'm a suffering fan.
I know you are.
Hey, look, as long I have the Celtics, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's true.
I have the Celtics.
That's right. You got a championship there. I don't want to hear no whining and bitching from you for a while.
Hey, I got to enjoy something.
That's right.
This year.
Even if the Yankees lose in the World Series, which I kind of think they will, I had last night, and it was fun, and that's all I care about. Watching Juan Soto, that great at bat. So I don't even care if they lose the World Series. I've watched them win 1,000 World Series. I'm fine if they don't win it. Just having last night was awesome.
If you want a comparison, if you weren't paying attention to baseball this year, of what it was like to watch the Chicago White Sox, just turn on Sunday football with the Miami Dolphins offense. That's pretty much what it is.
Pretty close.
It's pretty bad.
Two of the guys in the Yankees bullpen can't. No wonder the White Sox stink. If the Yankees took these guys and found a way to navigate their way to the World Series with no bullpen that's any good, really. Scouting time. You gotta tell your guy there, Jerry Colangelo, scouting.
It's not Colangelo, it's Jerry Reinsdorf, and
Reinsdorf,
that old bastard needs to sell the team. God, it's like deja vu. It's like I'm talking White Sox, and it's the same thing. All right, so after opening series punts by both teams, the Dolphins on a first down run from Raheem Mostert fumbles, and it was picked up by the Colts defense for an 18-yard return. It looked like everyone just stopped playing after the ball came out because everyone assumed that he was down. But if you don't hear a whistle, don't stop moving. God, it's Anyway, of course, the Colts will capitalize and get a touchdown 4 plays later on a Tyrell Goodson 7-yard touchdown run. And at that point, Mike, the wheels started to come off.
Sure did.
Punt, a 3-and-out after the touchdown. The Dolphins defense gets a 3-and-out. The Dolphins now go 6 plays, 41 yards, starts with a Jaylen Wright 9-yard run. Then a Jaylen Wright 19-yard run. Everyone knows where I'm going with this. Yeah. Jaylen Wright for 2. Then he got a no gain. Then Tim Boyle actually had a completion, a nice throw to Jonnu Smith in the middle of the field to get it to the 13. And on 1st and 10 from the 13, Alec Ingold receives the handoff from Tim Boyle, and he proceeds to fumble.
1st and 10, you're giving to the fullback. I mean, come on. We got 3 quote-unquote stud running backs. Wright has just had a nice drive here. We went for 9, went for 19.
Get 30 yards on 3
What are we doing? What are we doing? Give it to Alec Ingold? Again.
Why weren't you handing it to Devon Achane? Clearly, Jaylen Wright needed a break after he got stopped for no gain.
Put Mostert back in. I know he fumbled.
Mostert, right? I know he had a fumble, but he's still your best in between tackle runner.
Yeah, well,
there we go. Because thankfully, again, Dolphins defense get a stop, 3-and-out. They again go 3-and-out because Tim Boyle's that quarterback now. Then the Colts march 12 plays, 69 yards, and get a 22-yard field goal to make it 13-10. The Dolphins get the ball back. Starting at their 23-yard line, Tim Boyle to Jonnu Smith for 18 yards. Then Mostert goes for 14 to the Colts 45-yard line. Drive is moving. Jaylen Waddle caught a pass on 2nd and 12 for 11 yards. And then on 3rd and 1, guess what? It was an Alec Ingold fullback dive for no gain.
They're using Alec Ingold like he's freaking Larry Zonka. He ain't Larry Zonka. It's Alec Ingold. I know he scored 1 touchdown a couple weeks ago, and it's nice to get the fullback involved a little, but 3rd and 1 there, red zone on 1st down. What are you doing?
Yeah. So then they have to settle for a 54-yard field goal from Jason Sanders, who proceeds to bounce it off the upright. And that was going to be it because the Colts drained the clock, 9 plays, 36 yards, and get another field goal. This one was a 38-yarder that was good from Matt Gay. And then the Dolphins proceeded to watch Tim Boyle on 4th and 2, throw the ball out of bounds to end the football game. Out of bounds. Like, he literally threw it out of bounds, people.
Well, the clock management on that drive was horrible, too, because he had
everything was in the middle of the field.
I know, which, again, everything's in the middle of the field, which they didn't have enough time for that. He's not the guy to be running that anyway, so I don't want to come down hard on him. Why is McDaniel calling plays where you got guys running down the middle of the field? You should have the majority of the guys running on the sideline. Whatever. It's not Tim Boyle's fault. Look, I'll pile on a lot of things. I'm not going to pile on Tim Boyle. He should never have been put in that situation to begin with. The whole thing is it's a clown show in Miami. It's an actual clown show in Miami. It's just they can't get out of their own way. And as I said at the top, they have one of the single worst in-game coaches on their sideline. You can say Mike McDaniel's a great play caller, play design. I wouldn't say it. If you wanted to, we can have a healthy debate. When it comes to in-game decisions, Mike McDaniel is clueless. He's a fraud. He doesn't know what he's doing. He ain't any good. And as I say, he's getting worse week after week after week. He had a wasted timeout when the Colts and their head coach, who's no Lombardi himself, ran out the field goal team, ran off the field goal team. Mike McDaniel panicked, timeout. Could he use that timeout in the final drive? No, panicked, didn't know what to. The Colts weren't going for it on fourth down. It was a tie game. Of course they're going to kick a field goal. The whole thing, he's just been out-coached every way. He gets exposed every week, and it's getting worse. That's the scary part. It's getting worse.
It's tiresome. As a fan,
Exhausting to be a fan of this
it's
team.
exhausting to be a Dolphins
It's not
fan.
fun anymore. That's a sad part.
No, it's not. We had some fun at the beginning of 22 and 23. The team was good, right? The team was good. It was fun to watch. This is abysmal. This is like watching again, and I keep bringing it up, either the 2007 Miami Dolphins, who I think still scored more points than the current version of this football team, and they did not have Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, and in 2019 when they were in a complete
Trying to
rebuild
lose on
mode,
purpose.
And at this point in 2019, they were 0-6 or whatever the hell they were. So this is a team that is expensive, and it is getting flushed down the toilet. But hey, smiles on the sideline, baby, and just hey, let's send some backpacks for the fan base because we up the prices. I'm sorry that this is what it looks like.
Dolphins fans, first off, you had to beg for the backpacks, okay? It's not like they wanted to hand them to you. You had to go screaming like children, which is you were well within your right because they should have handed that stuff. The fact that you had to ask for them, I don't give them credit for doing what they're supposed to do. Now I sound like Chris Rock. Don't give them credit for them doing what they're supposed to do. You'd be like, yeah, you should have sent us like a backpack. You know what? Send me two because you screwed this up from the start. That's what don't give them credit. I'm giving them credit. They stink. They don't know what they're doing. The whole organization's a clown show right now. It's just from top to bottom. They can't get out of their own way ever. And it starts at the top. And I don't know how many more of these types of losses we need to see, but hopefully Stephen Ross at some point opens his eyes and says, this ain't working. And I'm tired of losing. And I'm tired of writing these big fat checks and we never see any results.
None.
He's the one who can make the change, nobody else. So we might be stuck here for a bit.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and as fans, we are allowed to voice our frustrations. And like you said, don't give them money. Don't
give them money.
They
view you as an ATM machine, you as in fans, as an ATM machine. Do not give them money. Now, I know most people already paid for trips this year, bought tickets. I get it. I'm talking about next year and beyond. Okay. If you already spent a lot of money for stuff, enjoy yourself. Go. And what time am I going to tell you? Don't go and just, waste the money. No. But next year, if you don't see, and we know what the changes are, we're going to talk about them here real quick or soon. If you don't see the necessary moves or changes to at least think this team might go in the right direction, don't give them a freaking dime. Don't. Because if you support them, then they take that as acceptance that you're okay with this. And why would they? And they have no pressure on them to ever do better. But we're going to give you a picnic for the Bills game. A team we never beat. Yeah, come to our stadium and watch us lose again, even on the road. That sounds like fun. We'll hold a picnic.
They picked
I can sit on the 20-yard line where, I can sit on the 20-yard line where our quarterback had a concussion and have a turkey club where we're losing to the Bills again. That sounds like a fun afternoon.
God. Team stats: Dolphins had 18 first downs, Colts 16. Miami was 6 for 15 on third down, Colts 4 for 13. Miami 0 for 1 on fourth. The Dolphins ran 68 plays for 337 total yards, 12 drives, 5 yards per play. Colts 61 plays, 284 total yards, 13 drives. One was a kneel down at the end. Who cares? 4.7 yards per play. Quarterback play. God. Tyler Huntley, 7 of 13, 87 yards. 6.7 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown. He was sacked twice, lost 12 yards. He had a 100.5 rating. Tim Boyle was 8 for 13 for 74 yards, 5.7. He had a 77.1 rating. Anthony Richardson, and I said at the top, 10 for 24, 129 yards, 5.4 yards per attempt. He was not sacked once, and he had a quarterback rating of 59.2, and the Miami Dolphins lost the football game. Rushing, Dolphins 40 attempts. Again, I applaud the attempts to run because your strength of the team right now is running. They had 188 yards on the ground at 4.7 yards per play. The Colts, though, 37 times for 155 at 4.2 yards per carry. Both teams were 1 for 3 in the red zone, which is abysmal. Penalties, 6 for 50 for the Dolphins, 4 for 25 for the Colts. In time of possession, 31-11 for the Dolphins, 28-49 for the Colts. Oh, Mike, we've hit that point, buddy. Who's getting your game ball?
Well, there's only 2 people who even come close to deserving this. And I'm sure I'll pick one, you pick one. I'll take the easy one. Jonnu Smith, 7 for 96 and a touchdown. He's the only guy on the offense who had more than 2 receptions today.
Terrible.
Think about that.
Absolutely.
Only guy with more than 2.
Absolutely terrible. I'm actually going to go on the defensive side, Mike, and I'm going to give it to the old GOAT, the old man, Calais Campbell, still making plays, 3 tackles for losses, 5 total tackles. Overall, for what he is at the age of 38, the man can still play football, and he was there again making plays in certain situations where it mattered. I thought he played well. I enjoyed watching him. Who I didn't enjoy watching today was Mike McDaniel. Oh, God.
Yeah.
How do you not have Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle get more than 4 targets total? I'm floored.
Yeah. He is in over his head. And this is coming off a bye week. He's just in over his head. And this is not a good team, the Colts. I'm telling you, this is not a good team. The Patriots weren't a good team. They struggled, won one of the games, barely, and lost one of the games, barely. When you play next week, Arizona, they're going to blow our doors off. Trust me. Then you got the Bills. They always blow our doors off. The Rams, by that point, should be healthy and have back Puka Nacua and Kupp on Monday night, a game no one's going to want to watch. They're going to blow our doors off. And then you're at the trade deadline, which I think actually comes after the Bills game. I think that Rams game's after trade.
It's November 5th is the trade deadline.
Yeah. Election
day.
Some genius did that. Of all days. But they're just not going to win these next few games. Yeah, you might beat the Raiders at home. Yeah, you'll probably beat the Patriots at home. Maybe you'll beat the Browns at the end of the year, which that game's getting flexed out of Sunday night, folks. If you plan on going that game, making it be Sunday, that's game's going to be Sunday at 1.
That's going to be they're going to put that as like a England 9:30 a.m. Start time, probably on Nickelodeon or something like that. They got
I'll tell you right now too. I know we all hate the Jets. They're making moves to get better. Miami ain't. So those are going to be ugly games too. This is going to be a rough, and then that's not even counting the Packers or Houston or San Francisco. We're not going to talk about them. This might be a long second half of the year, a very long second half of the year. Let's talk about this. Grier and McDaniel. I know a lot of people are asking us to talk about this. With the McDaniel one, I'll say this. As much as I think he's not any good, they did just give him a big extension, and I don't think it's fair. I can't believe I'm saying this. I might change this opinion in like a week or two. I think you got to let the new or the next GM make the call on the head coach. That's the only fair thing to do. Yes. With that said, let's move to the GM. It's been 24, soon to be 25 years. Got to go. I mean, it's just too long. Yep. You got to have a new voice in the room. If it were me, I'd pull the plug now, because why let him make moves at the trade deadline that are going to affect the future of this team that he might not be here for? Now, we have to admit there's a good chance he won't get fired. Probably more than a good chance he won't get fired. But if you have the thought you might fire him, you tell him you make 0 moves then. You don't make any moves at the trade deadline. You sit in your hands. If you are going to fire him, then you just get rid of him in the next week or two prior to the deadline. Not that you're going to put someone in place, but you can put someone in place and tell them what to do. So just to set up the next guy. And I know, look, there's a lot of names. I don't want to go through all these names of who could be brought in to replace. I just want to mention one name because I see his name always thrown out there, and it scares the hell out of me. Louis Riddick's a smart guy on TV. That doesn't mean Louis Riddick would be a smart GM. We saw this with Mike Mayock. It failed miserably. Yep. He was trading up for the kid from Clemson to pick him 3rd or 4th overall when he should have been picked like 12th or 13th. Like, he did some wacky stuff. And that's what's wrong when you pick guys from TV. I sit back and I watch everybody. No, just be careful with the TV guys. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying don't hire Riddick. I'm saying you better do a deep dive, full scale background check, and you better give him multiple interviews to make sure he's the guy. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole because he's great on TV. Doesn't mean he's great in a role like that. And this would be a hire at some point, whoever it is, that they cannot screw up. And you don't want to risk it with a TV guy.
I agree. You do not. I don't think you go that direction. Clearly, it's time. It has been time. I think it was time in 2019 when the rebuild was expected to begin.
After Flores was gone, that's when it should have happened.
It should have happened at that point. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Yes, we can applaud some of the drafting. Yes, we can applaud some of the moves. But at the end of the day, this is a results-driven league, and the results just aren't good enough. And they haven't been good enough. And clearly in 2024, the results stink. Awful. One game, they have hit 20 points. And that was on the opening game against the Jaguars. Since then, they cannot score more than 15. Folks, it is roster malpractice. You are going into the season knowing full well that you are going to extend the quarterback, but did not go with a contingency plan at quarterback, which is why the Dolphins continue to fail. And other teams, like the team they played today, because Joe Flacco is the reason they have the record that they do. He was, 2-1 while Richardson was out?
Something like that.
What other team just did well today? Oh, Marcus Mariota. I mean, yeah, they played the Panthers, but guess what? Jaden Daniels went out really early in that football game, and they won handily because Mariota doesn't stink. He's a good, viable backup, which, by the way, was available for the Dolphins to try to get. They ignore the backup quarterback position, and they sat there and watched Mike White and Skylar Thompson play football all summer and say, got to have me some of that, Skylar. That's not Skylar's fault. That's on the general manager, and that's on the head coach. And I agree with you, Mike. Whoever the general manager will be, and I don't think we'll be talking about a new general manager until like 2047. They make the call on the head coach. But until Mr. Ross has the gumption to make that decision and move on from Chris Grier, this is where the Dolphins are going to be. Happy-go-lucky team with no accountability and embarrassing themselves week after week with the fumbles, the holding calls, the illegal motion, illegal shifts, you name it. They do it week in and week out, not once, not twice, guaranteed at least 5 to 10 times a game. They shoot themselves in the foot game after game and hold nobody accountable. The same guys are trotting out there every week starting. Liam Eichenberg, who can't stay on his feet for a block. Keep him out there. Why? because they have nobody else. That's on the general manager. I don't want Mike to cue up the
But
clip.
remember, no, I'm playing. Remember, they're sitting back there chuckling and laughing at all you guys. They're laughing at you.
We're confident in the offensive line. So again, it's just one of those. It's Mike and I we always kind of chuckle. I know you guys made a joke about me saying that you guys are more worried about it than we are. But internally, that's how we feel about our group here as a team.
Yeah, big joke. We're laughing at you guys. We're laughing. 24 years on a playoff win. I've never done any. Look, Chris, he's never won nothing. Trust me. He's the guy who gives you 0 results at work. He goes, trust me, this time it's going to work. It never works.
And the last thing in regards of accountability, wide receiver 3 has been a need for this football team for 3 years under Mike McDaniel. 3 years. The guy they brought in has 0 catches this year. The guy they could have been maybe a depth player looks like he just blew his knee out today. No depth. Teams are keying in on the 2 guys on the outside. And there is no answer for it. And guess what? When they are taken away, well, I think McDaniel took away those other 2 guys. But when Hill and Waddle are being taken away, the playmaker today was Mike's guy that got the game ball, Jonnu Smith. Other guys have to step up. The running backs are doing what they can do. Stop fumbling the football, number 1. But they are running the ball well. They need the passing game to come back. And we'll see what happens next week against Arizona. If anything changes, I'm not saying it will. But if anything were to change, if that happens and the Dolphins find themselves putting points back on the board, hallelujah. But if they come out and lay a dud like they have been since week 2, you get what you pay for.
They will. Here's the deal. There was a report, which I didn't even share it on social media because I know it would have drove fans nuts. And it probably is not going to happen. But the Rams are in trade. They won today, but they're going to blow it up. And they're getting a lot of phone calls per Ian Rappaport about Cooper Kupp. And one of these outlets, a reputable outlet, put out the top 5 landing spots for Cooper Kupp. Miami was one of the 5. I go, Dolphins fans would lose another $20 million wide receiver, which would help. Always injured. Chris Grier loves that. Any broken toy, Chris Grier loves. Injured guy, $20 million a year, give him to me. Probably get him at a value, 3rd, 4th round pick. Cooper Kupp next to Hill and Waddle. He'll be sitting there with his pants around his ankles. He'd be going nuts. It's not happening. If they do trade him, there's a lot of other teams. But I'm like, oh man, that is such a Grier move. Watch him win next week to be 3-4. You know what? Give me Cooper Kupp in Miami. Oh, great. Eat up the rest of cap space. Holland walks. Phillips walks. We got Cooper Kupp playing 8 games a year. Oh, it'd be beautiful. Okay, here's the deal. Tom and myself are going to be in South Florida later this week. If you would like to see us, we will be at Bo Campers on Saturday afternoon around 3 p.m. There's a big Miami Dolphins event at Bo Campers in Fort Lauderdale. There's a few Bo Campers. The one in Fort Lauderdale at 3 o'clock Saturday. A lot of Dolphins fans are going to be there. Tom and myself will be there. Stop by, say hi. We're also going to be in and around the Hard Rock Hotel. If you want to just meet, one-on-one, send us a message. We'll probably meet you there because we're going to spend a lot of time there. Tailgates are tough because tailgates are just tough. So any invite to a tailgate, no promises there. But yeah, we will be in South Florida later this week to watch what I don't know, but we're going to have a nice meal. We'll probably have a couple nice meals, and we're going to see a lot of nice people. And it's a business trip for us, so it's a write-off. Thank God.
Well, I'm excited to go down. It's always fun to go traveling and get stopped by TSA even though
One of these times I'm going to get stopped. I just know it's coming.
I'm hoping it's you. If I get it first again, I'm just gonna take my stuff and go back out of security and go home.
I mean, I am very careful with what I pack. So if it is me, it's just going to be random because because I know I watch the rules very closely. Not that you don't. You just had some very bad luck. I think once though you brought like a whole thing of shampoo or something. Like, no, dude, you can't bring this.
Yeah.
I think one time
it was toothpaste.
Toothpaste, yeah, you probably like everything's got to be under 3 ounces or whatever. So I'm very careful, but sometimes it is just luck where you're just like the random person pulled out of line. Nothing you can do about that. But yeah, we'll see.
They probably see the Dolphins garb in Bill's country and go, get this guy.
Well, I don't wear that stuff when I travel because we leave in up here, and I don't want those people are nuts. These Bills fans, they are nuts. But all right, so that's all. Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow Tom on Twitter at DolphinsTalk Tom. Follow myself on various social media outlets at DolphinsTalk, all of them: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. We're on all of them. Check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. We got a bunch of new articles up already since the game's ended. We'll have more coming up in the coming days. Again, if you're in South Florida, here, we got this guy. Finn's in the house. Awesome. I'll get to meet you guys. Stop by. Say hi.
Yeah, we're good.
Yep. And I only charge $5 a picture, $10 for an autograph. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Total joke. Gotta laugh. Yeah, stop by and see us. And that's a busy night because after that game, you got
smack Florida State around.
So you got the Canes are going to put up 60 on Florida State, and that's also night 1 of the World Series. So we're going to be out of boat campers in time to be somewhere else to watch that because it's going to be a zoo down there with Miami running it up on Florida State this year and game 1 of the World Series, which I know won't be big with that one game going on, but that's also a big night. So it's going to be wild Saturday night. Wild. Sports tonight. We got to get our bets in. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great Monday. We'll talk to you again after a while. And folks, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity.
Fins down.